right, everyone. Welcome to the Moving to Florida show. I am here with our co-host, Yahya, and our other co-host, Judson, who usually does the intros, is not in today. So my intros is not as well as or put together like his. But we will be talking today about a couple of different things. I know we've been getting a lot of requests on foreign investors. How can foreign investors come and invest in Florida or the United States in general? But we're going to focus on Florida, why there's so many investors coming down to Florida and buying homes here. And we're going to be talking about an update on the Hometown Heroes. So we have a huge announcement on that one too. So that will definitely help our local Floridians here to get into homes. So let's jump right into it. So yeah, I know you do a lot of foreign investment loans. What is the most common thing you see in a foreign investment loan? So what do you get? What does it encompass, and why is it just strictly for foreign investors, and why can't they get a conventional FHA?
That's a very good question.
That was a lot. That was a lot to unpack in there. So go ahead.
Yeah, you basically took a whole box of stuff and just threw it at me, and it's like, oh yeah, just answer this one little thing.
Here's 4 questions in one sentence. Here you go.
Don't you love it when people do that to you? It's like, man,
like, where do I begin?
Yeah, it's like, I wish you were a punching bag and I could give you all these answers.
No, you don't need any more calluses in your hands. This guy has so many calluses in his hands from punching bags and punching people.
Right?
Maybe.
Well, hey, let's not say that. You know what I mean? We're on a podcast here. We got to keep things nice and clean. But just for the show, no, really, I think that's a very good point to make, honestly. And right now, with the global position where a lot of people are looking to move, unfortunately, in certain areas, or I would say fortunately for us, Florida has really shown a lot of growth. I mean, they're saying that I think we went up extra 10% in property values comparatively, even to Miami. Like Miami prices are not going now as high because I think because of the high prices, they're dampening a little bit, right?
Yeah, but they're still they're still higher than New York City. Can you believe that?
Higher than New York, right? I mean, right now, man, honestly, I think it's also due to what you asked me about foreign investors, because personally, we're seeing a lot of these loans happen, and the one key thing that I think people need to know is when you're a foreign investor, you have to know how local, I would say, credit works. When you're a resident, you have something that's a credit score. Or if you are an I-10 borrower who's at some point had a social security or filed any taxes, there's a way for the local repositories to see how you borrow and how you pay back.
Right.
But when you're a foreign national, there's no way to know that. So then what do we do? In that setting, we have different products, which I could say could be an equity loan, for example.
Right.
If I'm a lender and you're coming to me and you're like, hey, listen, man, I want to buy this property and I want you to give me a loan for it. Okay, cool. I need to do some fact checking. I need to build a profile of you to see if you're able to pay this money back to me. And without having a credit report, credit score, having your local, I would say records, it's very difficult for us to verify things.
Right.
So there's a very easy program, and it falls under the non-QM loan bucket, which simply means qualified mortgage. Okay. And qualified mortgage is something that's sold on the secondary market to Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, all the good stuff, right? Not to bore everybody here, but non-QM loans typically require higher amount of money down. So they start by a minimum of 20% and they go 30, 35% depending on how much money you're borrowing and what kind of property you're purchasing. Now, a lot of times they're super easy because you don't really have a local credit.
Right.
So all you need is a lot of money. So if you're buying something and you're putting 20% down, the way we are going to, I would say build your credit profile is to have a credit reference letter from your local bank in your country. So if, let's say, for example, you're in Canada or Saudi Arabia or wherever you are, your bank would have to issue a credit reference letter just indicating that, you're in good standing with them, you pay your debts on time, and you do everything by the book, basically. And that letter then needs to be translated into English for us to use as a reference for your credit. Now, other than that, we talked about 20%. The third portion of this is you're going to need to do an extra appraisal. On top of your normal appraisal, it's going to be a rent appraisal. Because as a foreign national, you cannot buy a primary home. So it is still going to be under the umbrella of an investment loan. So if
I don't want to cut you
have a
off here.
question?
What if I'm just using it as a vacation home and not having any income?
Sure. I mean, whatever you do, it really doesn't matter at the point where, it's getting paid for.
Right.
But there are the factors of this is
You still need to do a
lender,
second one.
Exactly. Okay. I need to do second one. That's going to be just to find out what rental income you can get from this. Now, whether you live in it yourself or you Airbnb it or you rent it out long term,
Right.
we need to make sure that your mortgage payment and the rental income potential either break even or you make more. Because when you make less, it poses a problem because now you have to come out of pocket to cover that cost. Right. And then you also need to have reserves, which is something that always gets missed. People think I'm just going to put 20% down and I'm good.
Right.
Not really. You got 20%, you got your closing costs.
Right.
And then you also have your origination points. Now, these are different than your regular discount points. A discount point is something you use to buy down your rate. But your origination points are upfront points you have to pay on an investment loan. So that could be like 2.5, 3 points you're going to pay. Plus the interest rates on these are actually higher than primary.
How much more higher? Like, what would it say, 30% higher, 40% higher?
I would say, around that ballpark. So right now, if let's say your primary home loan today is like not a good day, but if it's
Was it 6 points? 7.5? Was it 7.5 this morning? Man, what is going on? We were supposed to have a downturn in the summer, but I guess it's not.
But so, there's a lot of crazy things happening. Today, we got a report that CVS announced they're going to lay off 5,000 people.
Yeah.
And then Trucker, the big company that name is Yellow, they said they're going to release 30,000 people. 30,000, man.
30,000 truck drivers.
Exactly. Just think about that.
That's all you people. Second largest
people.
in the nation, right?
Yeah, I think third or second or third. Yeah, somewhere along those lines.
That means a lot of your transport stuff that you're supposed to be getting you're not going to be getting them on time. Does that what that means? If they're going to lay off 30,000 of their staff?
I mean, I'm just thinking 30,000 people not having jobs. That's going to be a part of what we initially talked about. If unemployment numbers go up, these people are going to be looking for work.
Yeah, but our unemployment numbers are still very low. They're like what 3.5, 3.6, or something like that.
Well, to be fair, our Federal Reserve does use numbers that they want to use.
Okay. What do you mean? They don't use factual numbers?
Well, think about this. Sometimes they look at the PCE report, then sometimes they look at the CPI report, then sometimes they look at the core CPI report, whatever fits their narrative to say what they want to say. Right? They do that. But if you look at the actual inflation figures from the peak of 9.1%, we're under 3% on the actual headline.
Nationwide,
we're pretty low. Exactly.
Nationwide. But Florida is not. Florida is at 9% still.
Florida is a different state. It's a beast.
It's a beast. I don't understand. The rest of the country is at 3%. We're sitting at 9% inflation rate, which is kind of high. 3 times the amount. It's kind of high.
I mean, just look at the demand, man. Like people are just not. It's everybody's moving here. California, you see, I think different states are all coming down here. But to go back to the non-QM loan for foreign nationals, you will need to have at least 6 months of reserves. At least.
Why?
That's like the minimum because they want to make sure you have the ability to pay. So if you take out this loan, I have no way to credit profile you. So I have a credit reference letter. Now, if you don't have any reserves for at least 6 months, it shows weakness. You're not liquid enough to make sure the payments are going to be made on this property. Right? And besides, these are just standard lender guidelines. There are different programs, but this, known as the DSCR loan, is typically the best way to go. And most often they're going to have to open an LLC under which they're going to have to open this property, considering it is an investment loan.
Okay. How do you verify that, though? How do you verify an international or a foreign bank saying, hey, this person has X amount of dollars in their bank account and they have X amount of dollars in reserve? So how do you verify that? Like if it's like, let's say, Nation Bank of Venezuela, for example. I'm not saying Venezuela would be a place where a lot of investors are coming from these days, but I'm just saying let's take India for example, Bank of India. How do you verify that Bank of India, that John at Bank of India has X amount of dollars there? How do you verify that?
So that's a good question. So there will need to be a seasoning period.
Okay.
And we need to have the funds here in the U.S.
Ah, okay.
So the only verification I'm going to do with the bank in India is to make sure the money is in their account there. They're going to show us a statement showing that this money's been sitting there. Once it comes to the US, this money has to be in this account for at least 60 days for most banks.
Right.
There are certain banks that we work with that do, let's say, 30-day seasoning, or they don't require any seasoning, but then that comes at a cost.
Right.
That they're going to do no seasoning, but you're going to pay more in the cost of upfront points or higher interest rates. They'll do like a 12, 13% interest rate, but they'll say, hey, we don't care about seasoning. So it really comes to you as an investor on what you're looking to do, or buyer on what's, better for your pocket. But if you move the money here, most lenders will season it for 60 days. So it's been sourced, it's been here. At that time, you want to make sure that you have your closing costs estimated, your down payment, you have your origination fees, and 6 months reserves all total, because when we move into closing,
Right.
we are going to need to see this money sitting in your account. It has to be enough to cover all these
So it
costs.
has to be in an American account.
Of course. You're gonna have to open a local account here.
Or can I send all the funds straight to title and hold it in escrow?
I don't think that would be a good idea, man. You're going to put all this money in title from 2 months in advance?
Yeah.
That's,
So is that something that people do, or they just
I've
open?
never seen
it
anybody
just
do that.
happen?
Yeah.
I don't think a title company will take all those funds anyways. I
and
think
I
they'll
think
just take the
it's too much-
deposits that they normally take. They won't take any of
Exactly,
the
and you're putting your own money at risk
Yeah.
too, because you're putting in a third party and it's not your
Right.
own. I'd rather you keep it in your own account, or
bank
if
account.
it's an interest bearing account, yeah, you can make some interest money on it, but such high levels of funds.
Right. But certain banks over here require to have a address in the U.S. All right. So can you open the LLC, open a PO box, and then have that as your address? Because I know certain places want something physical. Certain banks want something.
Yes, I don't
physical.
think you can do a PO box. I've never heard of that, but I mean, we can look into it and come back in the next episode with that for
Right.
sure. I've never heard of the PO box, but yes, you will need to register an LLC, and typically, you're right. You can register either an office space, or you can maybe get it under the house you're buying.
Okay.
You can make an offer under that and do it.
Okay.
That can be done.
Okay, so I can put the home I'm purchasing, which I haven't purchased yet, but open the LLC as that, I guess, point of office or something, office space or home space, or
I think
or some
I
kind of
I think yeah.
some kind of residency here, right? Or some kind of property that you own here or going to be owning here.
Exactly. Plus, when you have an LLC, I believe you can do amendments
Yeah.
and you can change. I think they charge like $100
Right,
or something,
right.
or $50. So if you have a specific address you can use here, and once you've closed on the property, you put it in that name, you can do that.
Right.
But you will need to have an LLC registered before you can open a bank account here. I believe most banks require that.
Right.
And once you do that, you have a bank account, you can move the funds here, and you can let them season here, and then you can move on.
Right.
Because you're right, there's a lot of interest we're seeing with foreign nationals looking into purchase, and a lot of times they don't know what to do. There are no clear steps, and it puts them off a little bit, or they end up using their cash to buy instead of using the local lending benefits to do that.
Correct. Okay. Now, as a foreign investor that wants to come down here and has no clue about or Florida or the United States, investing in the United States, if you're new and you want to invest in the United States, always find a lender, a professional lender from that state. I usually recommend. It doesn't have to be, because there's a lot of nationwide lenders out there that are out there, but I would recommend a local lender and a local realtor that will help you out, because you will need some professional help when you do come here. I don't say that just for as newbies, even established people that have purchased here and foreign investors that have purchased here, I would always recommend using a professional, because there are some rules and regulations that we have to abide by, because now our as-is contract only allows certain foreign investors to purchase here. There's certain foreign investors that cannot purchase in Florida anymore, as far as our as-is contract is concerned. But that's why it's always important to reach out to a professional lender, professional real estate agent that can that can show you around and show you what the right ways and the right procedure is to purchase.
And I'm gonna follow through on that with one more thing with what Mohit said here. It's important to talk about what they specialize in, because there's a difference between somebody's company doing a product and them knowing how the product works.
Right.
And what we're talking about is a non-QM loan. You'll meet plenty of lenders that are going to say, yeah, of course my company does this, but
do you know how to do
your
it?
company does exactly. It's important, because you want to find someone who specializes in this product. They
Correct.
understand it inside out, because the last thing you want is to have a team that is not in sync and doesn't understand between the lender and the realtor as well. Because
The realtor has to know certain rules and regulations. Like I said,
exactly.
If it-
Investment, like for example, you do a lot of investment loans,
Correct.
investment properties,
Correct.
right? And the difference between that versus a regular primary home is that it can get a little hairy sometimes.
Right.
And you need to do a little extra work. You may need to figure out, okay, what's the cost of repair, what the ARV is, after repair value, how much I could sell it for, what the potential for growth in that area is. And I mean, there's a lot more stuff. I'm just touching on the basics. But if your agent doesn't know that, then they may not be the right fit for this specific purchase, or the lender.
correct.
So
Right. Always go ask these questions to the lender or the agent. Are you familiar with foreign investment, and have you done foreign investments before? And if you have, let's see what you got.
Exactly. And I'm going to add one cool little note here. So I personally have a philosophy. I think that, in any kind of business, whoever you pick to choose with, to work with, you want to make sure they can remove any limitation factors in your success. And as an agent, as a lender, our goal specifically is with any client to ensure that anything limiting their success, we remove it.
Right.
So if I'm a lender and you're buying as a foreign national, you're coming in buying a property, I have to make sure that I not only have enough contacts to connect you with,
Right.
but also the ability and the patience to understand your exact needs and to guide you through that, because there may be certain documents you will need based on lender to lender from your country, wherever you're traveling from. And if you don't know how to get that done, if you don't know how to translate those in English with the local translator or anybody online, it's going to create delays. And those delays can be crucial, because if you're going to put if you're going to put a contract in and you're going to give a closing date and we can't get these conditions met, your loan is not going to close. And now you stand to lose thousands of dollars, plus your inspection fees, your appraisal fees, your escrow money, the time you spent, and maybe you shop some furniture or anything for this place or whatever else you did. So it's extremely important to have a trusted team that knows what they're doing.
I agree with you. And another huge thing is get a local accountant that is familiar with foreign investments, because there are some tax implications that you will need to think about and worry about. Maybe not worry about, but at least have the accountant worry about it for you and guide you the right way to do things. Because I know with U.S. and Canada, we have a bunch of treaties and agreements between the two countries where Canadians can save some money on taxes as a foreign investment. So I always recommend get a proper accountant who is familiar with foreign investments and have them look into all the tax implications, because there are some treaties that we have with other countries as well that will benefit you as far as if you're going to generate income on that property, if you're going to use that property as depreciation value. There's so many other implications. And another thing you have to not worry about or think about is when you do decide to sell the property, how much money are you going to be making on it? And not only that, how much taxes are you going to be paying on it? So you're going to have to look at FIRPTA as well, which is FIRPTA, FIRPTA. Let me get the actual breakdown what FIRPTA actually means. It's foreign investment something another. I forget what the abbreviation stands for. Let me pull it up here. FIRPTA. I see FIRPTA. Foreign Investment in Real Property Tax Act was enacted in 1980. Foreign investors are given a taxpayer identification number, or TIN number, to pay taxes or for withholding purposes in properties they sell in the United States. So it is important you understand FIRPTA as well when you do purchase or sell a property here in the United States. But as far as Canadians are concerned, Canadians, they love Florida. Most Canadians that come down to the United States usually invest in Florida. So I've noticed that 66% of all Canadian buyers buy in Florida. And then the rest,
Wow.
the rest they go to Arizona, any warm climate places. So it looks like they want to get away from their cold weather too, so they want to buy in warm weather. And I don't blame them because they get some brutal cold weathers up there. So I don't blame them coming down to Florida and purchasing homes down here in Florida. But that number has gone down since 2010. It has gone down 52%. Canadians haven't bought in the United States, so have not bought or has gone down, as I should say, it's gone down dramatically. So it's gone down 52%, and the reason, because I think it has to do with our politics here in Florida or in the United States, that has caused some Canadians not to purchase homes in the United States. But they are still buying homes here. I mean, the last year, I think in 2021, I have that record here. In 2021, they spent $4.2 billion in the United States on purchasing real estate property. Yeah, but in 2010, they were buying $17.1 billion, 69,100 units. So, and now, as of 2021, it was 8,800 units. So it has gone down pretty dramatically. But most of them buy in Florida. But continue buying here in Florida. We love you Canadians here in Florida. You guys are supposed to be polite, very polite people. So I've only had good experiences with Canadians.
I like how you said "supposed to be." Wow, I'm trying to catch some words here, man. Like, we're trying to be very political here. Like, it's supposed to.
I would ask you though, in a year, how often? What is your percentage actually of foreign investments versus conventional and FHA buyers?
About 20-30%.
Okay, so a good chunk of your business comes from foreign investors. So I would say 50% of my business is also foreign investors. But now most of these foreign investors are now getting conventional and FHA because they've built a credit line here in the United States. So now, as a foreign investor, you can purchase an FHA or conventional loan or your traditional loans, right?
Exactly. And there's one more thing that a lot of investors we see do is they purchase cash and they turn around and refinance this property. So when they refinance it, they're able to get a loan on it. They already have local collateral,
right?
And that helps them build more credit. So it's pretty interesting. And with cash, there's not a lot of sourcing. There's some sourcing, of course, but like I said, if you're putting the money in an account here, you're moving it, and you go up and you buy a bunch of buildings or a bunch of strip malls or big investments, and now you take out a large amount of money from here to buy property.
Right.
Now you can also take advantage of the tax benefits by writing off the interest, which again, as you said, having a good CPA is key. But there's so many things. I think in different countries, real estate works differently.
Yeah.
And when you come to the US, it's a very different experience.
Correct.
So I think that's just a little bit of shock for people. But yeah, I think we see, at least in my transactions, about 20-30% are foreign nationals, and it's really fun to work with them.
Oh yeah,
They bring in so many cool experiences about the local affairs they have and how they move on. So.
Right. And once they have a good experience here and they have the right team that they're working with here, they tend to buy more, and they'll continue buying more as an investment because you have the right people around you to guide you the right way. So as long as you have the right people around you and that guide you correctly, your investment should only go up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No,
well,
sure,
obviously, you never know what the market's going to turn into.
Yeah.
But as far as we see,
that, actually,
historically, U.S. housing has always been a uptrending investment versus
absolutely
long-term investment. And it's a really solid long-term investment, especially for foreign investors that may not do a lot of transactions, but they'll do enough transactions to buy and hold and keep it as a vacation home or make income out of it.
Absolutely. And one thing I did want to add is we mentioned there's a great update with the Hometown Heroes program. So in July, 3rd of July, we had $100 million given to us for everybody. As long as you work for a Florida-based company, work 35 hours a week, and have at least 640 credit score, and your debt to income, which of course we could talk more about later, has to be under 50, you are able to get this program. Now, as of yesterday, they were down to $40-something million within a month.
Wow.
And today, we got an update. They injected another $100 million into the program.
Amazing.
So it's awesome because it really the money was running out really fast, and we were reserving these loans for people who wanted to get them so they don't run out of the chance to do it. But it seems that this is really helping a lot of home buyers, accomplish their goals.
Right.
And one of the coolest things I wanted to share here is now people are understanding the concept of multifamily, because one of the coolest things you could do that I believe a lot of people don't know, man, and a lot of agents don't know this, but FHA lets you buy multi-unit property, 1 to 4 units with 3.5% down. Now, conventional loans don't let you do that. You have to put at least 15% down for that. But for FHA, if you can do this, and let's say you buy a duplex or triplex or whatever you buy, we can use up to 75% of the projected rental income from the vacant units to help you qualify with more income. And if you can do this, and you get 3.5% plus 1.5%, and if you have a little bit of your own money, or if you can get a gift, or the seller can contribute to your closing cost up to 3%, you can potentially come out with very little money out of pocket.
Is it only up to 3% on multifamilies, or is it?
I
up
believe
to 6%
yes. On
on
multi
FHA?
is, I think it's up to 6% on FHA, but I think multi is less.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm going to confirm that because it's so many different things we look at sometimes.
Right.
I have to be absolutely sure, but let's just go with less because it's better. Being conservative, right? So if you do that, you're basically coming up with such little money out of pocket and getting a multi-unit home where you can rent it out and build income. And if you live in it for 2-3 years, you can refinance it. That equity will pay off your hometown heroes, which you have to pay off if you refinance it, obviously. But now you built a portfolio. So it's a really interesting way to get in the game and start learning about investments through home ownership, because you will have both experiences. And if you find something that needs a little bit of work, you can improve it as you live in it. So that's going to also improve its value. So it's a really cool program.
All right. Just to recap now, foreign investors, we love you guys. You can still come out here in the United States and purchase homes. Home prices are still coming up, and home trends are always showing an upturn. So foreign investors, if you're thinking about purchasing here in Florida, it's the same processes we all go through. Only thing is your loan will be a little different, and your tax implications are a little different than ours. So foreign investors, we love you. Come down, spend some money down here so you can help our economy too. And we got a Hometown Heroes update. So we got an additional $100 million. And there's some, and it's open to anybody that's working here in Florida or working for a company that has a brick and mortar here in Florida.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. So we want to hear from you. You can reach us at our Moving to Florida show hotline by dropping a voicemail or texting to 407-900-5859 or dropping us a DM on Facebook or Instagram at Moving to Florida Show. And for Twitter, our handle is at Moving to FL Show. If you'd like to connect with us, if you have any questions, or if you need a realtor in Florida or a lender in Florida, you can reach us at movingtofloridashow@gmail.com. Be sure to subscribe to the show if you like our content so that it would automatically download to your device and get you one step closer to moving to Florida.